Welcome back to our channel, my fellow Port Charles addicts. It is an absolutely beautiful day to sit down, grab a steaming cup of coffee, and unpack the absolute madness that our favorite daytime writers have just thrown at us. We are always thrilled to have you here as we dive deep into the wildest, most jaw-dropping twists, and let me tell you, today's discussion is an absolute scorcher. My jaw is practically glued to the floor after witnessing the sheer, unadulterated psychological horror show unfolding between Britt Westbourne and Rocco Falconeri. I mean, come on, folks. Have you ever seen a dynamic this incredibly unsettling on daytime television in recent years? The writers are purposefully pushing our buttons, making us squirm in our seats, and frankly, it is working like an absolute charm. I am sitting here vibrating with anxiety because the relationship between this teenage boy and the woman who was his surrogate mother has crossed the line from a quirky, unconventional bond into a deeply terrifying obsession. It is downright creepy, and I am entirely here for the massive, explosive drama it is bringing to our screens. You simply cannot look away from a train wreck this spectacular, especially when the emotional stakes are this incredibly high for everyone involved. Let us cut right to the chase and talk about the most explosive, earth-shattering secret that is currently binding these two together in a toxic, unbreakable web of deceit. Rocco shot Cullum. Yes, you heard me right, and I am still reeling from the shock of it all. Sweet legacy child Rocco pulled the trigger, committing a violent act that changes the trajectory of his entire life, and who is the one standing by his side, shielding him from the fiery wrath of the law and his own parents? Britt Westbourne. This is not just a casual friendship anymore. This is a blood pact forged in the darkest of circumstances. Britt discovering that Rocco is the shooter and immediately deciding to protect him at all costs proves just how wildly dangerous this situation has become. She is validating his darkest, most violent actions, effectively telling a troubled, impressionable teenager that his worst mistakes are perfectly acceptable as long as he stays fiercely loyal to her. It is a masterclass in psychological manipulation, and it has my heart pounding out of my chest just thinking about the inevitable fallout. We absolutely have to take a massive step back and look at the horrifying historical context of this relationship, because it makes Rocco's sudden, fierce devotion to Britt look absolutely, undeniably insane. Do we all remember the infamous stolen embryo storyline? Because I certainly do, and I am screaming at my television screen every single time Rocco looks at Britt with those adoring, puppy dog eyes. This woman literally stole Lulu and Dante's embryo. She lied about his very identity when he was just a helpless infant. She robbed his biological parents of their right to their own child for a significant portion of his early life, causing unimaginable grief and trauma. For any normal teenager, discovering that a woman essentially kidnapped you as a cellular organism and lied to the entire world about it would be grounds for a lifetime restraining order and intense therapy. Yet, here is Rocco, completely ignoring the massive, traumatic betrayal of his infancy, acting like Britt is the absolute saint of Port Charles. It is a level of psychological brainwashing that is genuinely terrifying to behold. The internet is absolutely exploding with wild theories right now, and I have to agree with the most scandalous, uncomfortable one of all. Rocco's intense, unwavering devotion to Britt is crossing into some incredibly inappropriate taboo territory. Fans are loudly and rightfully pointing out that his sudden maternal attachment feels incredibly unrealistic for a teenager of his age, and some are even suggesting that he might be developing a twisted, romantic infatuation with her. Think about it from a psychological standpoint. He is a confused, hormonal teenager dealing with massive trauma, and she is an older, glamorous, rebellious woman who is offering him a completely judgment-free zone. The way he looks at her, the intensity with which he defends her against his own flesh and blood, it is not just a kid looking for a mother figure. It is a deeply unhealthy, obsessive attachment that borders on a disturbing infatuation. The writers are walking a razor-thin line here, playing with fire, and I am practically sweating, just waiting to see how far they will push this highly controversial boundary. And while we are talking about this absolute mess of a situation, we desperately need to address the colossal, monumental parenting failure happening over at the Falconeri household. Dante and Lulu are entirely missing the mark, and it is driving me absolutely, positively crazy. What do you do when your teenage son is being drawn into the dangerous orbit of a manipulative woman with a history of kidnapping? You do not just sit there and aggressively bash her to his face day in and day out. Every single time Dante and Lulu scream about how evil Britt is, they are essentially telling Rocco that his feelings, his judgment, and his entire reality are entirely wrong. They are alienating their own son with their heavy-handed tactics. They are pushing him right into Britt's waiting, welcoming arms. It is a classic, tragic misstep in parenting. By invalidating his complex emotions and treating him like an idiot who cannot see the truth, they are ensuring that he will rebel against them with everything he has. I am watching Dante, a highly trained, seasoned police detective, completely fail to read the psychological crime scene happening right in his own living room, and it is agonizingly brilliant television. Let us pivot to the mastermind herself, the brilliant and dangerous Britt Westbourne in all her glory. Why on earth is Britt doing this? Is it a genuine, albeit twisted, maternal instinct driving her actions, or is she playing a much darker, more calculated and sinister game? I genuinely believe she is feeding off this vulnerable boy's desperate, clawing need for acceptance. While his biological parents are busy judging him and trying to force him back into their perfect little familial mold, Britt is offering him unconditional, lawless, absolute acceptance. One incredibly astute fan perfectly nailed it in the forums. She doesn't question his judgment. She is too busy trying to understand who he really is. But let us be brutally, unflinchingly honest. Here she is validating a version of Rocco that includes attempted murder. By accepting the boy who shot Cullum without batting an eye or calling the authorities, she is cementing herself as his sole confidant and protector. She is making herself entirely indispensable to him, creating a toxic emotional dependency that is going to be nearly impossible for Dante and Lulu to ever break. It is diabolical, it is genius, and I cannot help but applaud the sheer, unadulterated villainy of it all. Now, brace yourselves, hold on to your hats, and lock your doors, because we need to talk about the ticking time bomb that is about to blow this entire storyline sky high. The impending international kidnapping plot. The rumors, the subtle clues, and the blatant foreshadowing are heavily pointing toward Britt taking Rocco out of the country. Let me repeat that for the people in the back who might have missed the gravity of the situation. Britt Westbourne is planning to illegally smuggle Dante Falconeri's teenage son across international borders. This is not just a fun little European summer vacation. This is a massive federal crime of epic proportions. The sheer audacity of this woman to even contemplate taking a minor away from his legal, biological parents is staggering and breathtaking. The anxiety I feel just thinking about the moment Dante realizes his son is gone is completely off the charts. We are talking about a full-blown international manhunt, Interpol involvement, massive jurisdiction battles, and a potential deadly shootout on foreign soil. The stakes have never, ever been higher, and the impending explosion is going to leave a massive, smoking crater right in the middle of Port Charles. I want to dive really deep into Rocco's fragile psyche for a moment, because this kid is a walking psychological disaster zone, and analyzing his motivations is absolutely fascinating. Imagine growing up as the son of a strict, by-the-book, morally upright police detective like Dante, and a fiercely protective, legacy-driven, stubborn mother like Lulu. The immense pressure to be the perfect Spencer Falconeri golden boy, to uphold the family honor, must be absolutely suffocating for a teenager trying to find his own identity. Enter Britt, chaotic, rule-breaking, unapologetic, and completely detached from the moral high ground. To a teenager who just committed a horrific act of violence by shooting Cullum, Britt represents absolute freedom from the suffocating, judgmental morality of his parents. He is clinging to her with a desperate grip because she is the only person in his entire life who isn't demanding that he be a good, law-abiding boy. She is looking directly at the terrifying darkness inside him, and she is smiling. That is a terrifyingly powerful, intoxicating drug for a confused kid, and it perfectly explains why he is willing to throw his entire family, his future, and his freedom away just to stay by her side. In conclusion, my fellow soap lovers and drama addicts, we are currently witnessing an absolute masterclass in daytime television drama. The creepy, unsettling, and downright dangerous bond between Britt Westbourne and Rocco Falconeri is the exact, thrilling reason we tune in day after day, year after year. It is a bubbling, toxic cauldron of dark secrets, vicious lies, stolen embryos, and attempted murder, and it is all about to boil over in the most spectacular, explosive fashion imaginable. I am going to be permanently glued to my television screen, analyzing every single lingering glance, every whispered secretive conversation, and every shocking, heart-stopping betrayal as this international kidnapping plot kicks into high gear. The stakes are literally life and death. The emotions are entirely off the charts, and the sheer level of drama is simply unparalleled in daytime right now. Buckle up, Port Charles fans, hold on tight, because the ride is only going to get bumpier, wilder, and more dangerous from here, and I will be right here front and center to break down every single heart-stopping, jaw-dropping moment with all of you.